and we'll now move to our third and final panel discussion of the conference. So this panel discussion is on protecting consumers from the misleading use of the term natural on food products. So a push on sustainability, especially in the wake of the COVID pandemic, has made the term natural more appealing for consumers and increasingly lucrative for those providing them. But there's still no clear definition on what the term natural means. And this has led to a lot of concern over the fact that perhaps the natural label may be misleading. And, there's not a differentiation from natural products from synthetic substances in the current labelling system. So this suggestion has been put forward in the INI report of the Parliament on the Farm to Fork strategy. So here today to discuss this, we firstly have a video presentation from Joanna Granger, who is the Minister Councillor of the Australian Mission to the EU. And afterwards, we have a panel discussion with Green MEP Francisco Guerrero. We also have Olivia Menichetti, who's the Director General of EHPM. We have Bruno Viano, who's the Managing Partner at Ethica, and Federico Dolce from SAFE, so that's the EU Policy Manager at SAFE. We're going to kick off firstly with the video from Australia, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's always interesting to hear what happens elsewhere and what lessons we can draw from elsewhere, and then we will move to the panel discussion.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk briefly about how Australia is protecting its consumers from misleading claims about the naturalness of a product. We know the European Union is currently looking at how it can best provide clear information to consumers. We're following developments under the Farm to Fork with great interest. Australia is committed to providing consumers transparent information so that they can make informed choices on the food and health products they buy for themselves and their families. And we're always keen to discuss and share best practice with like-minded partners like the EU. In Australia, a statutory authority, Food Standards Australia New Zealand, develops the standards of what goes into our food and how it can be labelled. The Food Standards Code sets out, among other things, the claims that can be made on food products. For example, the code regulates nutritional and health claims made on food labels. The code does not, however, regulate non-nutrient characteristics of a food, like the term natural. Instead, the term natural in food labelling is regulated by the Australian Consumer Law, which is under the jurisdiction of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, or the ACCC. The ACCC dictates that any label should not be false, misleading or deceptive. And it refers to the dictionary definition of natural, meaning that the product must be derived from ingredients nature has produced and not man-made or interfered with by man. Businesses making natural claims must be able to substantiate those claims. There are two key economy-wide prohibitions that are relevant to claims that goods are natural. There's a broad prohibition on engaging in misleading or deceptive conduct, and there are detailed prohibitions on specific types of false or misleading representations, including that goods are of a particular standard, quality, value, grade or style, and have particular performance, characteristics, uses or benefits. Financial penalties may apply for any business or individual who's found to be in contravention of the Competition and Consumer Act, including the Australian Consumer Law. For example, in 2018, the ACCC issued infringement notices in relation to baby products, which had a description of pure, natural, organic. While the products did contain natural ingredients, there were 2 synthetic chemical preservatives which were added to prevent the growth of bacteria. The ACCC maintained that the business may have misled consumers into thinking that its products were free from synthetic chemicals, and as a result, that business paid $37,800 in penalties. For therapeutic goods, including medicines, there are further requirements on how claims about naturalness can be made. So the Therapeutics Goods Administration is part of the Australian Government Department of Health, and it is responsible for regulating the supply, import and export, manufacturing and advertising of therapeutic goods under the Therapeutic Goods Act. In 2018, there's an advertising code was brought in, established to ensure that marketing and advertising of therapeutic goods is conducted in a way that promotes the quality use of the product, is socially sustainable, and does not mislead or deceive the consumer. The code prohibits claims regarding the term natural or similar terms like naturally derived or sourced from nature from being misleading and requires claims to be truthful, valid, accurate and substantiated by the advertiser to satisfy the legal requirements of the code. And the code's accompanied by guidelines to help advertisers and manufacturers comply with it. These guidelines really focus on the processing and manufacturing steps, acknowledging that all therapeutic goods have been transformed in some way into a final product, like a tablet or capsule. The starting product or raw material must be a form found in nature: plants, animal, marine, mineral or bacterial. It lists minimal processing steps which, when used, would not detract from the final product being natural, and these include freezing, grinding or boiling. In addition, the final product must also have not undergone any chemical conversion or modification. Only if these requirements are satisfied can a therapeutic product be labelled as natural. The guidelines go on to say that where a part of a final product is natural, the advertiser must qualify that fact, for example, by saying the product contains a certain percentage of the natural ingredient. In Australia, our regulatory framework for food and therapeutic products is set through the Australia-New Zealand Food Standards Code, the Therapeutic Goods Administration Advertising Code, and the Australian Consumer Law to deliver accurate information to help consumers make informed purchasing decisions. Our regulators take non-compliance with our schemes very seriously, especially where breaches can result in or pose a threat to public health and safety. This system has served us well, and Australian consumers are confident that the claims made on the food and therapeutic products they buy are accurate. Nevertheless, we are following discussions in the EU and other jurisdictions to understand different regulatory models, and we look forward to the outcomes of today's discussion on how food claims can be improved.
Excellent. So thank you to Joanna, who unfortunately couldn't be with us. There is a bit of a time difference between us and Australia, but a very, very interesting and informative video there. I'm sure we'll have a lot to discuss about what we have just heard. So now let me turn to the first of our opening remarks. So let me turn to Francisco for your opening remarks. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you, Natasha, for moderating the debate. First of all, it was very interesting to see the Australian government talking about this issue and the steps that it took to regulate the term natural. But it's a different reality here in the European Union. So we are talking about several member states, 27 and counting. We hope that will be more in the future, but for now, 27 member states, and obviously they have their own legislations, and the majority of these countries don't have a definition of what is natural. And so this clearly is misleading, and it leaves to the industry the definition of what is natural or not. It also leads to the misleading of these products and consumer perception of these products. And as Natasha said, these type of products that are more healthy in a way, because citizens and consumers correlate the term natural to a more healthy product, are being used to label products that may not be healthy and may have synthetic products mixed with really natural products, so to say. And so this leaves the door open for unclear market competition, obviously, and we are in a single market, so we have to be very open about this. So we should be harmonizing our process, our legislation, our regulations, so we can have a clear definition of what unnatural is. We sent a letter, me and the 31 MEPs, to Kyriakides, the commissioner, asking her about her position, if the commission would move forward to make a clear definition of what natural is, and stating if the commission would clearly mention on the labeling, because labeling is a huge topic now, if it was being defined what are synthetic, natural, or how would this be processed in the nearby future. And the reply of the commission was, this is a competence of the member states, and they should continue to do so. We do not understand this position since we are talking about mandatory labeling on several other products, and we are trying to harmonize single markets to make consumers more aware of the products. And so I'm Portuguese, but I would also like to be in Spain or in Italy or in another country and understand clearly what's natural or not, so I can make a more informed decision when I'm buying some products. And so at that level, we replied back to the commissioner stating that, well, for us, this was obviously not a clear position and a path that the commission should take, and with pressure, so her could, we think this position and clearly puts in first place the consumers and the single market. So we are always talking about single market, and on these issues we leave it to the member states. Well, it's a bit incoherent. We also talked about the amendment that was passed on Farm to Fork that also pushes to this perspective. So the clear definition of natural products, if they have synthetic or not, so we can all know what we are buying in the end. And so this is now the process that we are in. Let's see how the commission, will reply to our counter reply. Let's see where the path leads us to, but for sure, if this stays into the member states' competence, we'll continue to have misleading information. We'll continue to have less information for consumers, and in the end, I think we all are going to lose: citizens, consumers, and companies.
Thank you very much, Francisco. Let me now turn to Olivia for your presentation. Olivia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natasha. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to give it a try. Just tell me if you can now see my screen. Great.
Can, yes.
Thank you, Natasha, and good afternoon to everyone. I would like, first of all, to thank Safe Food Advocacy Europe for inviting me to this important event and for allowing me to offer you and the attendees the industry perspective on the use of the term natural. But before doing that, I would like just to say a few words about the association that I represent. EHPM is the European Trade Association representing the health product manufacturers in Europe since 1975. EHPM has 14 members representing national associations in 13 European member states plus the UK. And we do represent also some companies as direct members. Through its members, EHPM represent more than 1,600 companies active in the field of health product sector, most of which are small and medium-sized enterprises. EHPM actively represents the health product sector towards the European institutions and proactively suggests possible concrete solutions to the regulatory challenges that affect our sector. The technical and scientific elements of those proposals are developed within our working groups and task forces that are made of experts from our members. EHPM proactively cooperates with the European institutions and stakeholders to strengthen the overarching strategy for a healthier Europe enshrined in the Farm to Fork strategy and the European Green Deal. Here you can see some of our latest publications in this slide, and a slide also to show you what it's going to be published in the next months to come. So the areas on which EHPM is actually proactive and active. But without any further ado, let's talk about what the health product sector perspective, what is the health product sector perspective regarding the term natural. So first of all, I would like to say that the use of the term natural is of central importance for food business operators when marketing their products, but it's among the easiest way to mislead the consumer if it's not used honestly. So I totally agree with Mr. Guerreiro with what he said on these important points. And consumers are European consumers, not national member states consumers in a European Union. So I fully agree with Mr. Guerreiro on that. Consumers of health products are people that want to take personal responsibility for their health and for the health of their family and friends, and they prefer to support their well-being naturally by using products they perceive as being natural. This is inevitably rather a vague concept, though. Therefore, to avoid the danger of the consumer being misled, an understanding of the meaning of the term natural when applied to food products is of pivotal importance for our consumers, as well as for food business operators. The use of the term natural signifies that products are produced from naturally occurring ingredients with the minimum amount of processing. The average consumers, however, equates the term natural with good and also with safe, which of course is not a safe assumption. Therefore, I think that for the natural health products, natural has to go hand in hand with safe. I would like also to highlight that not all health products can be defined as natural, of course, but this does not mean that they are not safe or of a high quality. However, our point here is that it's crucial that products that are labeled as natural in the absence of a European definition respond to certain characteristics. In general, the main issues and considerations that should be taken into account when using or trying to define the term natural are the following. When using the term natural on the product label, the main objective of the food business operator should be to enhance honest, accurate, and meaningful communication, and not just to protect consumers from being deceived. Therefore, for the food business operator, understanding what consumers want to know from the use of the term natural is also critical. When it comes to the definition of the term natural, it is possible, of course, to define it in a general way that allows common sense distinctions to be made between what is or what is not natural. However, attempts to distinguish between what is natural and what is not natural on the basis of the number of stages of processing is highly problematic. When defining the term natural, it is important to consider the type of processing used in the manufacturing of products. I was very happy to hear from the Australian representative what they consider as minimal processing, which corresponds with the processing stages that we have also identified as being acceptable when defining the term natural. I'm referring to the agricultural processing like cutting, drying, the mechanical processing like maceration, pressing, but also the heating and cooling and the addition of water. Although alcohol is widely used in the production of food products, products treated with alcohol or other solvents are generally not considered natural because these substances change the chemical structure of the foodstuff and add compounds that were not originally present. Where the ingredients are considered natural, placing those ingredients in a pure fill capsule like gelatin or vegetable origin should not mean that the product is not natural. Reaching to the conclusions, EHPM welcomes the focus that Safe Food Advocacy Europe is bringing to the use of the term natural. EHPM considers that natural claim an important marketing tool that needs to be used honestly by food business operators, as well as a communication tool to guide consumers towards an informed choice when purchasing health products. The natural claim should not be limited, though, to products that are considered natural by tradition, but should include also forms of innovation in the context of the European Green Deal. As Commissioner Kyriakides mentioned earlier today, the Farm to Fork strategy and the European Green Deal are growth strategies. We believe that there cannot be growth without research and innovation. Moreover, the natural claim should extend its application to processed products if its components are not altered by the transformation process and therefore preserve their naturalness. No matter how tightly you attempt to define natural, there will always be a need to control the proper use of the term. The definition should be sufficiently flexible to address consumers' aspirations, while at the same time sufficiently robust to allow for effective control. Because of the general understanding that people have of the term natural, guidelines or code of practice may be more practical than legislation. In fact, it's very difficult to establish by way of a strict definition and regulation which products in the gray area are or are not natural. One final consideration with which I would like to conclude, though, is that it is true that guidelines can help ethical FBOs to keep their consumers honestly informed. However, regulations are also needed to prevent unethical businesses from taking advantage of any flexibility that may exist. I would like to thank you all for your attention, and I will be happy to answer to your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Livia. I will now turn to Bruno for your presentation. The floor is yours, Bruno.
Thank you, Natasha. I have to share my PowerPoint. Can you see it?
We can, yes.
Okay. Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Bruno Biano. I am the managing partner of Etica from Italy. Etica is, we are specialized in psychometrics, and we conduct our analysis mainly through these methods. So we have been following developments in the main product categories for more than 20 years, monitoring for several years also the field of natural products and how consumers perceive them. So, 3 questions today in only 8 slides of contents. We'll give some answers to these 3 questions. The first one is, how does the concept of natural in a product resonate with people? Sounds with people. What are the strengths of natural products perceived by people, and how to respect consumers? In order to answer, we conducted a survey in Italy, Spain, and Portugal, and at the moment we are making the same in Germany, France, and Poland. The survey has wider targets, and these data refer to the category of health product. But in our experience, they can be easily extended to all the food products where it is possible to find entirely natural and or synthetic ingredients. The methodology is a web survey with a structured questionnaire. The target are men and women aged 25 to 70. The sample is a total of 500 valid cases per country, representing the national distribution, and the period is the end of September 2021. So, how does the concept of natural health products resonate with people? The topic here is not what the philosophical or legal concept of natural is, but how it resonates intellectually and emotionally with people. 4 chapters. And the first is archetypes. In order to better grasp how clients experience a natural health product on a more profound level, we used our psychometric method based on Jungian archetypes. And briefly, what is an archetype? Basically, they are, in a sense, the fundamental structures of meaning that our mind gives to life and to the narratives we are exposed to. For example, in movies, but also in advertising, in packaging, and so on. We all project archetypes onto the outside world. even onto brands or categories, including, of course, natural products, natural categories. We all unconsciously base our decisions and actions on the archetypes we encounter and perceive. This is important. The natural health product exhibit clear archetypal connotations. One thing that this means is that people, both in their minds and in their gut, have expectation, hopes, desired benefits that are consciously and unconsciously clear. As you can see, the archetypes perceived and desired in this category are the caregiver and the sage. In short, for the public, a natural health product signifies caring, gentleness, listening, all helping to make people feel protected and loved in a maternal way. Moreover, the archetype of the sage seeks to understand the relationship between humans and nature. As you can see, these two archetypes are consistent and well represented in all the countries tested, because these percentages are high for the benchmarks we have collected over many years of research. Well, associations. Associations with animals reveal people's inner world and how they relate to natural products. In all three countries, the unique, I would say, association is with bees. They are an important symbol, belonging to our collective unconscious imagination since the dawn of time. Now, the bee is seen as a symbol of industriousness. The bee is chaste, is diligent, precise, and capable of living in complete harmony within the hive. As it lives amongst the perfumes of the flowers, the bee is also a symbol of sobriety and purity. The bee is also the animal that best represents the common good. It represents humanity and the environment. Values. The values of natural product of the public are, for example, caring, diligence, harmony with others, listening, purity, safety. These are the main ones described in our research. Now, the requirements. The more important ones of requirements of a product, of a natural product, are healthy product without side effects, product only with natural ingredients, has biodegradable packaging and the same for the product itself, with no impact on the environment, and even more important, the less desired, not a chemical or synthetic product, and does not contain preservatives and or colorings. Well, now let's give some answer to question 2, the strengths of natural products. The strengths of natural products. Here we can read the level of the agreement with these sentences. The values are on an average of the 3 countries. So important to know that the natural health products now are no more considered a marketing gimmick or a fad, like it was some years ago. They are considered safe, and consumers look at product labels to see if they are natural or if they contain synthetic ingredients. At the end, consumers are willing to pay extra for a natural product. And this extra goes from 23 to 28%. Last but not least, some answers to questions how to respect consumers. From the answers to the questions posed, we see that the packaging, more than the package leaflet, is the main source of information for consumers. Unlike in the past, when packaging was just a garment, considered a garment, it now has significant information value. This evidence is even stronger in Portugal, as you can see. Finally, but important, what happens if a consumer discovers that a purchased product contains 5 or 10% synthetic chemical ingredients? How would him or her feel? You can see from the answer given, we can argue that if there is a lack of transparency in declaring the presence even of 5% only of synthetic ingredients, the prevailing feelings are those of feeling cheated, taken for a ride, and disappointed. The feelings and the related emotional drop are the same for Italy and Spain, and while Portugal accentuates the feeling of being cheated. Lastly, there is also a portion who are different. I mean, the okay, indifferent, fine, equal to 16% in Italy, 14% in Spain, and 11% in Portugal. So, what are the main insights coming from all these perceptions of consumers? In our opinion, the concept of natural in health products is a deep, precise, and shared experience. People want natural products. They are, as a matter of fact, they are a purchase driver, and recognize their added value compared to synthetic products, also in terms of pricing. For this reason, it is important to responsibly and transparently declare the presence of any synthetic ingredients on the packaging and in the leaflet. If consumers were to discover the presence of non-natural synthetic ingredients, they would feel cheated, disappointed, and deceived. Feelings that are in total contrast with the deep experience and values of the category archetypes that are the sage and the caregiver. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for offering those really valuable insights actually into consumers' perspective on natural labels, and also their perspectives on one of my favorite animals, the bee. That's very interesting. Thank you very much. And now let's turn to our last presentation of the panel and of the conference actually. So Federica, the floor is yours for your presentation.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Natasha, and thank you everyone for being here in this extremely interesting panel today. I am really glad, before I start with the presentation, I'll try to give it short. I'm extremely happy to see so many different points of view on the topic today, from the institutional perspective to the support of the European Parliament and the support that indeed Francisco have shown in the concept, and also the great perspective that Lydia gave from the industry side, as well as Bruno contribution that has been extremely valuable to have an academic perspective of how do consumers feel about natural, what is it, how can this be translated into marketing tools, and how is this translated into people understanding. So by giving this short introduction, I'm just gonna go and share my screen. Hopefully you can see what I am sharing now.
Yeah. Yes.
Does it work? Okay.
It does. Yes.
Okay. So I think it's important for us to start by showing a short video of the campaign that Floriana mentioned at the beginning of this conference, which is our We Value True Natural campaign, which will briefly wrap up what this presentation will show. So if you can maybe confirm that you can hear the sound.
Eating healthy, tackling climate change, fighting biodiversity loss. We all want to do our part by buying healthier and more sustainable food with true natural value. But are we always making the right choices? 100% natural, made with all natural ingredients. There are many natural claims found on food packaging nowadays.
Oh, look, let's buy this. It says all natural, so no GMO, no chemical ingredients, and biodegradable, I suppose.
Yeah, it must be healthy and environmentally friendly, right?
Not all products with natural labels are truly natural. The ingredient lists may contain ingredients that seem natural, but they are obtained by chemical processes and are in fact chemical additives such as colorants, flavorings, monosodium glutamate, and many more.
But natural labels and claims are regulated by EU law, aren't they?
Not really. There is no clear definition of natural at EU level. Thus consumers might be misled when buying natural labeled products that contains chemical and synthetic substances. We consumers have the right to healthier and more sustainable products. Join us to raise our common voice and calling on the EU for accurate labeling to value true natural. For more information, visit us at safefoodadvocacy.eu and follow our hashtag #WeValueTrueNatural. We value true natural. Without information, there is no choice.
Okay, so there was the introduction of our campaign. So we're gonna go straight now to what's the situation at the EU level and why it was so important to show such a concrete and amazing example that the Australian government provided us. And it's true what MEP Guerrero said before of the fact that we are 27 member states, and coming up with a definition is surely not as simple, but indeed the fact that none of the current regulations set up requirements for packaging indication to be followed by food producers is surely a problem that it comes to then monitoring and correct implementation of the food information to consumer. So what are the key recommendations of our campaign? So first of all, we really believe that the EU should develop a common understanding of what natural is through maybe like guidelines or a definition, or most importantly, a substantive differentiation with synthetic ingredients, which is currently really not the case, as we will see very shortly. Also, the EU should define the criteria, and as we saw, for example, in the Australian intervention, we have a list of possible processes that can be considered as natural, as we don't have to look like too strictly at the term as something that should cut off products out of the list, but rather something that can help this definition for consumers to have a clear idea of what it means and what it can do for them. And in order to do that, like a broader list and a broader concept can definitely help the shift towards a more sustainable food system, which is really the core of this conference of today. And then indeed the information on the ingredient origin, that should be easily understandable, as often as we said, like natural label products contain ingredients that could be difficult to be understood by an average consumer. And this specific case is being represented by the zeaxanthin case that we show in our report that is available on our website. So zeaxanthin is a carotenoid with antioxidant properties, and the Commission have adopted in the 13th of August 2018 in implementing act that authorized the change of designation and the liability requirements for zeaxanthin, removing the word synthetic next to zeaxanthin. So basically, the ending result was to have, say, labeling standard for different food components that actually in the end confuse the possibility to differentiate synthetic with natural ingredients. In our report, we also give some concrete examples of different products that we analyzed in the EU market through different member states. This is, for example, a case of pre-made meat that says that it's natural and it's good. And there are listed a few additives and ingredients that do not, in our opinion, really comply with the concept of natural. So we saw, for example, this case mentioned by the Australian government of these baby products where just two components of the products were made of the synthetic origin, and there was simply enough for the authorities to claim that there was indeed an ambiguous case of information to consumers. We reached extremely happy to have this amendment in the INI report, and to have the incredible support of the European Parliament on the topic. And as paragraph 95 of the Farm to Fork strategy INI report says that healthy products, including food, may contain natural or synthetic ingredients, which have different impacts on the environment and the health of consumers. And that's what is very important for us, that we have the support and to calling for the introduction of mandatory labeling schemes for healthy products, indicating whether an ingredient is of origin, of synthetic origin, when obtained by chemical synthesis, specifically when there is the case of a natural equivalent, which is what we really think it's important to achieve. What are we going to now with this campaign? We really want to help defining the concept of natural that can help consumer assessing the products that are GM-free and free of synthetic substances and biodegradable. As we saw in Bruno's presentation earlier, consumers do connect the word natural with characteristics as biodegradable, and not only the products itself, but also the packaging and like really like all these type of characteristics that should be listened to, and that I think that both the regulatory framework and the private sector can then take on what is the consumer perception of natural, and try to build upon that something that can lead towards a more sustainable European food market. And then indeed guarantee a legal framework that protects consumers from misleading claims and help to achieve the objective of the Farm to Fork strategy and the Green Deal. And we really believe that a common understanding of the term natural is key for the achievement of these two strategies, not only for a sustainable perspective, not only for an food information to consumers perspective, but also really to set up a new way to think about products into a more like circular and sustainable approach. So thank you very much for your attention, and I am really happy to answer to any question if there are. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. So we now move to a short Q&A, and I'm aware that time's running out a little bit, so it won't keep you too long. But we have a few questions here from the audience, and I'm going to start with a question for Francisco. So the question here is, it's reflecting on the kind of case that we heard from Australia. And the question is, what can be done at the EU level to follow the examples given by Australia, and in committing to establish stricter criteria to better protect consumers? So perhaps you could answer that question and maybe also give a little reflection about what we heard in the video message from Joanna.
Yes, well, I think by the positions here exposed, and also by several surveys that were made to consumers, that the path is really clear. So the EU should take the lead and make a clear definition of what natural is, so what the definition should be, and then move forward for the harmonization and standardization of EU legislation, so we all can be in the same level when we are buying products, and when companies are also making their products and advertising them. So it seems like we're really clear the path that should be doing the Commission, and also obviously trying to make it as more transparent and clear as possible, also to consumers and to companies, so we can clearly have a single market and move forward with products that everyone understands what they are and then can freely make their choices. So I think the path is really, really clear.
And let me put the same question to you, Federica. So maybe you could give a little reflection about what we heard from the Australian model and the way that they were doing things. Maybe you can pull a few parallels there for what could be done here in the EU. What were your thoughts when you heard the video there?
I think my thought is to be extremely excited by seeing so many different points of view actually conceiving into a unique agreement and a unique base of the need of such a definition for consumers. And what Francisco said, it's been what the case of Australia has proven, which is that if we are into a single market, we have to be sure that a consumer from Italy or a consumer from Australia can have access to the same products with the same standards and the same product that is labeled as natural in one country can be understood in the same way in another one. And this can just ensure conscious choices and a better functioning overall of the internal market of the EU.
Great, thank you. And I have a question here for Livia. So the question is, as has been pointed out by the discussion today, natural is often associated with healthy and sustainable. The question is, are processed foods and food supplements compatible with the need to drive consumers towards healthy and sustainable diets? Livia, what would you have to say to that?
Well, yes, of course. This is, the objective of most of the companies active in our sector, I would say. So I mentioned in my presentation the concept of ethical businesses, and I think that what I'm representing today here is that ethical businesses are not only responsible for the products that they put on the market, for the information that they provide to consumers, but also for the way they do this. So I am totally convinced about the fact that food business operators and the private sector can play an important role towards sustainability. And this is something that a lot of our members are looking into at the moment. And I believe that if we will allow, as I said, also to do and to invest in more research and innovation to go towards those objectives, we could eventually reach them together. Because, Natasha, what the problem that we often have is that the private sector, the natural health product sector is always looked with with a certain skepticism from European institutions, national institutions. And really the message that we want to deliver is that this is not correct, and there is another world, there is another part of the business, which are responsible businesses that are, as mentioned in the general food law, responsible primarily for the products that they put in the market, and they want to deliver more and better information to consumers, and they want to produce in a more sustainable way. This is totally in line with our, beliefs and with our ideas that lies behind our work. So absolutely, yes.
A very clear response to that question. Thank you very much, Livia. So I'm very aware that we are running slightly over time, so I think that's probably all the questions that we have time for today. But I want to thank all of the panelists here, and we're very nearly at the end of today's conference. But before we do go, let me just hand you over into the capable hands of Floriana for some closing remarks and some reflections about what we've heard today over the course of this event. So Floriana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm happy that a lot of you are still with us after this long and super interesting afternoon. I have many people to thank. I was so happy to have so many MEP with us who support a lot safe activity like Dorfa, Pedicino, our friend Guerriero. It was very great for us having you this afternoon. But I was just during the conference having some thoughts. I believe, I don't know if it's something happened to you too, but sometime at work, above all when you work and you met amazing people, extraordinary people, or people who are at very high level, very often they're modest. I think modesty is key, like people who are modest in a way of working, even if they're exceptional people, sometimes they let you feel somehow important yourself. And this is something I always like of the EU. When many years ago, unfortunately, I was studying EU law, I realized how much powerful was the idea of looking what the other country of the EU is doing. So if I'm doing a new legislation at EU level, I like to watch the others, to check what the others countries are doing, and I try to get the best practice. And this behavior, it's what I will call a modest behavior, like look what the others do, and let me see if I find a very fantastic legislation that I can somehow imitate and get a new EU legislation. However, very often when I'm in some meeting with the Commission and with EFSA, I hear this sentence that they often say to me, or it's safe, Floriana, we are the best. We are the best food security, food safety system in the world. And I heard this many times. And sometimes I say, yes, to be the best, it doesn't mean to be good enough. We can improve it. However, today, I would even add, let's look, getting modest, let's look what are doing the others outside the EU. Let's watch Australia. Can you imagine Australia? If there is a baby food where it's written natural food and it's full of additives, only 3 additives if I remember correctly, they can give to the company a fine. So it's a system, at least for this legislation, that really protects consumers, because somehow by giving you a fine, I'm saying to other companies who really do natural products, who really sell natural products, thank you so much for consumers. So I protect them by attacking those who kind of mislead consumers. Or let's look, for instance, in Chile. Chile, I'm always amazed about this warning label on front of package that they use in Chile for many food products. It's very simple. It's black with the white things on it, and sometimes it's very helpful for consumers to not take a certain type of food, and the system is working there. Or UK, I know we have Brexit, it's complicated to talk about UK, but however, there's all the sugar tax, which has been pretty successful. I know I'm touching argument that a lot of you would not be very happy about, but it's true. If we see from the consumer side, for getting less sugar, there are certain things that have been done outside the EU which are very successful. So at the end, what I really hope out of this conference today is that can be the starting point of a discussion at EU level, able to involve stakeholders in order to allow the EU to find innovative policy solution and contribute to creating a more sustainable and consumer-centered food system. And I repeat this, consumer-centered food system, because this is key. So, SAFE has a lot of experience in training consumers. We start from children, teenagers, adults, to teach them to read food labeling, to improve. So I believe we have seen a lot from the consumer side, and a lot of the things we propose to the EU, to the Commission, are based on many years of experience looking how consumers perceive food labeling. So I would like to finish to thanks again Commissioner Kyriakides, which was with us at the beginning. Natasha, without you, we cannot do conference anymore. I think you noticed that. To the SAFE team, to Federica Dolce, who was mainly the person who organized this conference, to all my Magic SAFE team who were very supportive, to all those prestigious speakers. I'm very glad you could stay with us the whole afternoon. I'm sure you're tired. It's late now, so thank you again, and I wish to meet you all very soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Ciao.
you very
Be
much,
safe.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Ciao.